Why did you choose to come back in the summer and work with Cooch?
He sees the most out of people. He sees you can get better every single day. Like, hey, come work with me. Mm-hmm. Don't miss time. Come do it, because I know you're going to improve. And I think that's what Cooch is so good about. Like, obviously, we know Cooch in the media, but that's not Cooch as the person he is. Like, Cooch is a great human being. Like, if you get to know that guy, he's the best. And he cared about the person, the human, to get better instead of like just, going out there.
Bolts Nation, welcome to another episode of the Bolts Block Party, powered by our amazing friends at Highlight IPA. Wolfie and Kobe back again, and man, I didn't honestly think that we would ever get this guy back on the Block Party couch, but he is no stranger to the Block Party, and his mom has been on the Block Party as well, which I think is a first for any of our guests on the Block Party. The Big Rig, Pat Maroon, is back on the couch, three-time Stanley Cup champ. Now, I guess on the retirement tour, we're just beyond excited to have you back in the city. Obviously, right in the midst of Stanley Cup playoff action. But how does it feel to be back in Tampa Bay, man?
Feels great, honestly. Getting off the plane last night, it just felt great to be back. So I think me and my wife and the kids are ready to move back. So
we're hoping happy to have you back here in the Tampa Bay area.
What about this time of year, Patty?
Yeah.
I know you relish, and I know all players just get excited. The playoffs, obviously, tough year in Chicago. You guys don't qualify for it, but this playoffs still kind of give you that little bit of a goosebump feeling.
Yeah, it does. I think when I watched the first game, I don't know what game it was. One of the first games before the playoffs, and just watching the national anthem, it's just like, man, this is what I'm going to miss right here. I think the playoffs is what we play for. You know, Colbs is just like what we dream of like the hard work we put through our whole careers and like our one goal, and we got to live it, and it was awesome. And just to be part of a group, but not even that, just to watch the national anthem, to be a part of going to a visiting team, watching the crowd go nuts and stealing the momentum, and it's just so much pride. You take so much pride in that, and but I've been really, really taking a liking of just watching and sitting back and seeing all the players I really got to play with, and I really like, so it's been fun.
It was game one. Me and Ryan Malone, we were standing beside each other, and as the guys were coming on the ice, it was like we both looked at each other at the same time, and we both went like this.
You looked right at me. We both looked at me because you were doing the Tesla coils.
We went like this to our arms, and both of our hairs on our arms were just standing straight up. We were like, oh my God.
It was amazing to see that.
It was crazy, just because you get that feeling, and as a player too, you it's hard to recreate that, but.
No, it is, and you know what? I went back to St. Louis, obviously, went back home, and they invited me back, and I got to do the tile and amp up the fans. But I was really emotional doing that because, like, you want to walk out that tunnel, right? And like you said,
it's a realization. It's a turning of the chapter, right?
Yeah, and but to be a part of that, and like tonight, I'll feel it too when you're pressing the coil and you're going through it, and all the emotions, what the players are thinking, and what they're thinking about just walking out the tunnel, and what this game means tonight. And but it was just fun to be a part of it again. Mm-hmm. Like, I was a nothing person that night, but I felt like I was on top of the world because I was part of something again. Like I was watching a game. I was just being there, being a fan, and but it gives you realize. Retirement's coming. It is here, but, to do these things that I'm doing today, it just brings you back to, like, it's not that bad, but you get to watch all the players you used to, play with, and, now you're fans of players that you watch, and to be a part of that it's really fun. And like I said, I got really emotional doing it, but it was fun being part of it.
I mean, it's pretty remarkable considering you're only one of 12 players in NHL history to win back-to-back Stanley Cup champs on different teams, and I would say that's probably crazy considering you'd rather be playing roller hockey. Like, looking at the longevity of your career, I mean, Is that something, I mean, looking back, I mean, because again, we know your love of roller hockey. I'm assuming you're going to be playing that till the day that you die. But looking back on the career now and the longevity and, you know, the people that maybe didn't believe in you and the ones that did believe in you, that got you to this point and such an amazing longevity of a career. But do you now have time to kind of reminisce and look back, even though it's still kind of recent, it's still fresh in your mind, but it's been an amazing, amazing career for you.
Yeah, obviously I like to play roller hockey. I'll touch on that, but I just grew up playing roller hockey, so I've always been a fan of it. My best friend from back home, his dad owns a roller hockey rink, and
right.
Ironically, my uncle
runs it now, right?
My uncle runs it now, so you know, just it taught me a lot. You know, like I wasn't a fast skater, but I had to find ways, and I just always went to the rink every day. My dad gave me $3. He dropped me off at 9 in the morning during the summertime, and the rink was open till 5 p.m. So I would just skate, and my dad would come pick me up after work, and I just worked on my hands. I just worked on stuff that a hockey player probably didn't think he was working on, but it was getting me better, and I had to find ways to navigate my career in so many different ways. But I think roller hockey has helped me so much, and when I'm playing roller hockey, I feel like the Connor McDavids of the world because you just feel the puck all the time, and you're around the rink, and you're scoring goals like I'm not doing out in the NHL world. But it's just nice to play because it's refreshing of like, back in the day when you just open up the door and you let your kids skate, right? And that's what makes me go back to roller hockey. Is I get that fresh air of like, hockey's just a sport, and we play because we love the game, right? And that's why I love it. But I mean, Coles will tell you like, getting drafted, I've gotten an amazing text from Paul Holmgren, which was our GM when we were in Philly together. And, obviously it didn't end well in Philly, but just to see, the people response of me retiring and, I think when you leave the game, you want to have an impact on yourself, and you want to have an impact on, players or GMs. And in Philly, we all know it didn't end well, right? And but just receiving that text from my first ever GM that believed in me to get me to the opportunity to get to the NHL was really emotional. And Paul's been awesome to me, and I can't thank him enough for just drafting me and believing in me. And I wish it panned out the way the back end of my career ended. Sure. But it didn't. But I think it taught me a lesson of being just a good person, a good human, and we always talk about all the good, but I think if that doesn't happen, I don't think I'm the man I am today. And I'm blessed that it happened because I can talk about it all the time because, I don't want to talk about the good because if that bad didn't happen, I don't think I'm sitting in this chair talking to you guys. So I was really blessed to be a part of the Flyers organization. And obviously we all hate the end result of that, but it helped me out a lot. And I became a man, and I became a person. I became a good human. And I realized there's 24 other guys in the locker room that care, and you got to care for them also. So it really transparent me to be just a better man. So receiving a text from him meant so much to me, and now I get to call him and talk to him on the phone, and talk about the good times, and that's what it means about. So it's I mean, it was tough, but I mean, watching these guys, and you want to succeed your goal at any time in your life and your career, and but at the end of the day, you think about it and you cherish those moments, because I think that moment right there when shit hit the fan, those are the good moments for me, because I'm happy to talk about it, because those are the moments that grew me to the person I am, and so it's good.
Well, Patty, maybe some of our viewers don't really understand maybe what happened in Philly.
Yeah.
Can you just elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah. So I mean, I was a young kid, and I got drafted in 07. I signed my entry-level contract when I was playing London Knights, and the following year, well, I got called up at the end of the year to play in the American League under Berube, and following year, 08-09, I went there, had a great year under John Paddock, and it was
What a great guy, by the way. Eh?
with the best. And he, you know what, he texted me too. So like, it's just that guy's the best. And we have stories for days for John.
Oh my
Paddock.
God, great coach, just very hard coach, but personable. Really cared about you. Constant cigarette smell on him.
Yeah.
I think it was one of his coping mechanisms for
he would
for
smoke
stress.
in the hallway. In between intermission.
Different story. Different times, man.
Smart coach, just really good pulse on the team. Good teacher.
Just awesome.
Yeah.
And he was good for the young guys. And I think so. When that happened, our team ended up moving from Philly because we played in Philly,
right?
The old Spectrum, and
it was wild, right?
It was wild.
The two dressing rooms side by side.
Right, yeah, they were right.
Like I saw him every day.
Yeah, we saw Patty every day. We had I was up with the Flyers, and Patty was just coming up with the Phantoms. But these guys, they were we all hung out together.
Yeah.
We go to eat, and guys were getting called up. So there was I think it was we shared the same gym.
Yeah, we shared everything together.
Worked out together. So it was kind of a unique atmosphere from an NHL American League.
I think it was a good situation for the American League guys just to see how hard these guys work and the time and effort they put in and what they do every single day, right? So it was fun for us because if we get called up, we just walk across the hall,
which is crazy.
And the beauty of it to me, which was awesome, is we could have saw that guy at 9 a.m. working out, and then at 11 o'clock you might be in that dressing room that same day. Right. So that was so cool to me to feel that. And but anyways, so my third year, I had a falling out with the coach, Greg Gilbert, and we didn't really get along, and I was this arrogant prick. I was a young kid. I had success in the American League. I was trying to get called up, and I'd see other guys get called up, and me being selfish and not being a good teammate, it just weird on me. And I wasn't a good teammate. I wasn't playing good, and I was a punk. And
that's a really hard thing about the American League, right? You're fighting for kind of the same spot with the guys that you're trying to accomplish the ultimate goal of winning every night in the American League. It's just different, right? And it's you want to be happy for the guy because he's your buddy and you're battling with them, but you also want to be. I want that to be me, right? It's tough.
It was tough, yeah. And then obviously 9 games in, I get sent home, and I deserved it. I deserved every moment of it. And but when you think back on that time and why they sent me home, I think of it. I'm like, I deserved it. Mm-hmm. I wasn't a good teammate. I was a punk. I wasn't, the coach, me and him didn't get along. We had, FU matches all the time. And, why is this guy getting called up? You should have my back kind of moment. And like he said, those are your friends too. But you go back to your house and in the minors, you have 3 roommates, 2 roommates, whatever.
The club. Right. And having lunch at the club every day.
Your 2 roommates are getting called up, and you're thinking about it well, what the hell did they do?
Right.
And then when they get back, you're like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
And you're not yourself, right? And it taught me a life lesson for sure because, I had Anthony. Anthony was not even 3 years old at the time. I was a father from long distance, and
you're 20 years old?
I was 20 years old, and it was just emotional for me, but I always tell my son all the time, if there's one thing when you move further and further in your career, if you just be a good teammate and worry about your teammates and be a good listener and yes sir, yes ma'am to your trainers, if your coaches yell at you, say yes sir. I always tell them, just be on that path of being just a good human being, because that goes farther in life than it does you being selfish and being a punk. And so it gave me really good life lessons to teach my son, and it taught myself too. And I wish, I can take that time back. But like I said before, like, if that doesn't happen, I don't think I'm sitting here with you guys right now.
Patty, how did that change your relationship with coaches that maybe later on, let's say there's another coach you don't get along with or someone you disagree with? How did your approach change from that experience?
Well, I think for me, it changed tremendously because, maybe they were right. I looked at their eyes and I'm like, he's probably right. I was probably wrong in those situations. And for me, I just always looked at the coach after that. I was just like, he's probably right.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk to him.
He just wants to win, right?
Correct.
The coach wants to win as much as you do. He wants to help
Get the
you.
best
but
out of you.
Yeah, and he's got a job to do.
He's got a job to do. And
it's very rare. I have not seen it really. And you kind of, as a player, you always feel like he's picking on me. He's trying to screw me over here. And that's typically not the case.
No,
right?
it's not. It's not the case at all. And I think, and it's like the GMs too, or like, the veteran groups in the American League, like, it was funny because like my first year, Danny Breer came down for an injury stint. Randy Jones came down. Like, Oscar Bartulis came down. Like, we had all these veterans come down. So like, you see what it's like, and they're just there for injury, purposes to get back in shape, and then they're on their way, right? So like, you see that, and you see how the coach interacts with them, and you see how they interact, and you're like, okay, that's probably how I should interact with the coach, instead of just being stubborn. But that taught me so much of like, the coaches means well to you, right? They're trying to teach you, they're trying to help you, they're trying to guide you to get to the next level, because at the end of the day, we're all trying to get to the next level. Yep. And I think we forget about that sometimes.
So you go home, you're sent home from Philly.
I'm sitting
back in St. Louis.
No, I'm sitting in New Jersey with my cousins, and that's where my agent told me to go, because he said, you're probably going to get traded in the American League, probably in the East. So he's like, just go back. And I got traded. I didn't get traded till December. What? I was working out.
Wow.
First off, working out. I wasn't working out. I was depressed, but I was skating with Montclair State club hockey team. And I was partying with them. I was sleeping in their dorm room. Like, I was this fucking hot mess. And like,
wow.
But, and then one day I woke up, I'm like, God damn it, I have a fucking kid at home. Like, I should just go home and work and just retire. And like, it's the end of the year, my entry level contract. Like, what am I doing? Mm-hmm. Like, I called my dad, like, I need advice. He's like, stick it out, just be a man, just put your head down and work, stop drinking. I know it's tough, but like, your aunt and uncle will take care of you, do your thing. And it's funny though, because when I started skating and doing all that stuff, I ended up going to my buddy's house, Greg Thompson's. It was like Oktoberfest, but like, it was like December, but it was like a ugly sweater party. And my phone died. And that's when I got traded. I was sleeping at his house. And the funny story is great. I mean, now that you think about it, but Bob Murray called me on his landline because they got a hold of my friend that lives in Long Island. And I talked to Bob Murray on Greg Thompson's landline. That's how I got traded.
And what are you thinking then? Are you thinking, oh shit, like I got to get like myself together here? Like,
I thought like
panic mode.
I was full blown panic mode.
Yeah.
Like, got my truck. They told me you had to be in Syracuse that day.
Oh my God.
So I woke up, drove from Long Island, drove to Lyndhurst, New Jersey, packed my stuff, went straight to Syracuse. And I'll never forget it. Mark Hollick was the coach. I get there, drop my bag off. Next morning I go to the rink. We had a game, and I go in the office. I meet the coaches, and Mark Hollick's like, we just traded for our best player, which was Trevor Smith at the time in the American League.
No pressure.
He's like, I don't know why they got you. And I'm like, all right.
Good start.
Good start. All right. Head coach, maybe not like me now. I'm like, all right. But and my mindset there was just like, all right, you have to put a good impression. You have to be a good teammate. Like I told myself, don't worry about points. Don't worry about anything else. Be a good teammate and be a good person. And that's what my dad told me. He's like, please just be a good person, be a good human. Thank everyone. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And it just taught me a life lesson. Mm-hmm. It was something that I can talk about because it helped me so much.
Sure. Isn't that kind of when you started? Wasn't like Trent Yanni told you like you need to start learning how to fight? Wasn't around that same time?
Yeah.
Bob
So
Murray? Like that's
so
kind
Trent Yanni took over the following year.
Got it.
And then, I was neck and neck with Corey Conacher and scoring points that year in the American League. And I wasn't fighting much. And he just looked at me. He goes, man, I think you have all the tools to make it to the NHL. You're not the fastest guy, but you can be up and down the lineup no matter where you play. And he's like, it seems like the game's changing throughout a tough guy. So he's like, if you show toughness a little bit and show that you can fight, then they can just weed out, the guys that play 4 or 5 minutes a night.
Right. Gives you another intangible, right?
Yeah. And so the next year I just started fighting a lot and had a really good year again.
Was Trent giving you lessons, or were you kind of like,
how do you learn that? Right.
I know there's
because I was already big, so I was already fighting.
Yeah.
I was getting in probably 5-6 fights a night, a year anyways.
Jeez.
But I already knew what it was like.
Yeah. More of just a mindset of willingness.
I think the mindset and willingness to do it. And then the funny thing is, like, when I started doing it a lot, then like all the tough guys in the American League were coming after me.
Right, which is
scary. So like now I'm like
target on your back almost.
It's almost different than the NHL because there's some guys in the American League that are extremely tough.
Yeah,
they're just not skilled enough to play in the NHL.
Right.
So you're having to fight some tough
guys, and I was scoring 30 goals in the American League. So I'm like, what am I doing?
Right.
Like, is this like worth it to me? Right. But it was worth it.
Yeah.
It got me to the next level. And I think that's the biggest thing now where I always go back to my son is like each level you climb, you have to adapt. So whatever the coach puts you in, adapt to that role. Mm-hmm. Some people don't want to adapt. Some people don't want to change. Some people want to be the man. But unfortunately, there's 6 other guys that are the man right now.
Right.
How do you become that guy, right? How do you change yourself into another role to adapt, to be solidified in that league? And then you go to the next league. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not the man anymore. How do I change, right? So I think there's so many ways you can look at it, right? And I always go back to the Ross Colton story is, he gets called up. We're like 8 games in. He's like, fuck, Pat, we didn't play a lot. I'm like, Ross, dude, you're looking at me. I'm a 4th-line player. Like, I haven't played, like 8 minutes is great. He's like, I thought we played great. We scored. Like, I'm like, listen, if you just keep putting your head down and working, the end result's going to be so good for you.
Right.
And he ends up scoring the game-winning goal in the Stanley Cup Finals, and now he's making $4 million. He's scoring 20 goals a year, right? So, like, you have to start somewhere in your life and in your career. You could be like I was the man down in the American League.
Yep.
I'm not going to be the man in the NHL, right? You have to adapt. And I feel like now with the new generation, guys don't want to adapt anymore. So I try to tell my son all the time, you have to adapt. I know it's not what you want to hear
right.
or what you want to do, but it's going to prolong your career. I promise you. And I had to adapt. I had to. Because if I didn't, I don't know where I'd be, working at McDonald's.
848 games later in the NHL, 163 playoff games in your career. I mean, obviously, I think that speaks for itself at this point in your career, obviously. But I wanted to go back because some of those defining moments, and one that I think sticks out to me because it came against a former Tampa Bay Lightning goaltender, was that Game 7 overtime winner versus Ben Bishop in 2019, where you hit that game winner. It was on May 7th. It was all 7s, which I thought lucky 7s. It was a Game 7 overtime winner, May 7th, and it sent you guys to the Western Conference Final. Did you feel like, I mean, again, there's going to be key moments in your career, but I felt like that was a defining moment for you.
Yeah, it was. And it was a tough year going back home. I kind of bet on myself a little bit to like perform a little bit and get a 2-year, 3-year deal, and obviously it didn't go out that well. And our team was in last place in January. It was a struggle of a year, but that game was special, and I'll still remember to this day. I'm in the trainer's room, well, actually equipment room, and I'm sitting there, and they're like, "Dude, it's May 7th. Our game's at 7. The towel tonight is Pat Maroon number 7." And you wear number 7.
Right.
And I'm like, he's like, "You're going to have a big night."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, there's no way." And it's game 7.
It's game 7.
So like, but Bishop played unbelievable.
Yeah.
It could have went either way, right?
100%.
2 St. Louis guys playing, one guy's playing for the villain, the other guy's playing for the other side. And Bishop, I think, made like 66 saves or something.
Insane. Yeah.
But I give credit to my line mates that night, Bozak and Thomas, and especially my teammates. We always had this face-off play, but we never executed it ever. And it was a roll around. Mm-hmm. So Thomas came around, I set a pick, and then he would usually pass it up high to Bozak because he would pop in from the center face-off. He would pop out to the slot. So that happened, but Thomas made a great move on Kleinberg, and he just made a shot. And it went off the post, hit Bishop's head,
yeah.
And Heiskin just left me go. And it's not the prettiest goal, but it was a special goal for me and my family that night. Really emotional night for me, and watched my son cry in the stands after I scored. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was a fun game to be a part of, but seeing videos of my dad running up and down the stands, the stairs, and my brother and my mom going nuts, and it was a special night. But I give credit to my teammates and my line mates, because if that doesn't happen, then...
So just to get to that point, though, Patty, you mentioned it and you alluded to it a little bit. You guys were in last place. As we're sitting here today, the Lightning are down 3-1 in this series. I'm sure this result's going to be different. We're gonna see whatever's going to happen here in the next couple of days. But what changed for your group? Like how did you guys go from a last place team at Thanksgiving to Stanley Cup champions? Like what was the change? Because you guys must have been like, I know when you're in a team that's losing, it's not very fun to come to the rink.
Oh, when Berube took over, I think that was like perfect for our identity, because we had the tools. We didn't know who we were as a team. We didn't have an identity. Mm-hmm. We didn't have any superstars. Ryan O'Reilly was our best player, say, and he had 77 points that year. So like, we didn't have any like all-stars on our team. Obviously, he was an all-star, but I think the turning point, which was great for us, is Berube came in, ripped off the standings, started us, yelling us. You know how he is. You had him.
Yeah.
And he basically said, if you don't want to work hard, you're not playing. And we didn't show any video. We worked hard in practice. We worked hard in the next game. But it was more like win 1, lose 1. Win 1, lose 2. Win 2, lose 1. So like we were still kind of in the funk of like, but he just drove us nuts of like, this is who we are. We're meat and potatoes. This is how we're going to play. We're going to suffocate teams as much as possible. We're going to get pucks in. We're going to grind them down low. And we're going to have a good neutral zone. And then if you don't do that, then you're not fucking playing. And it just changed. And then when he changed the lines, and it just seemed like everything clicked at one time. We had Tarasenko's. We had, O'Reilly. We had Shen. We had Schwartzy. We had these guys, but everyone was underperformed besides O'Reilly. But I guess if you think about the turning point, I guess when Binnington comes in Philly, the night before, we go watch the Eagles. That's how we got Gloria. We go to this Larry Flowers. You know Larry, right?
Yeah.
We go to this like hometown, like neighborhood bar, and it's like you have to be a neighbor to come in. Like, it was wild. And when they kicked that field goal to win, they started playing Gloria, and we were obviously 2 sheets to the wind. And Steiner was like, no fucking way, Gloria, this is great. And so Steiner's like, we're playing this every time we win. And we did. Bennington comes in the next night and gets a shutout. We won 3-0.
Right.
And then tides return. And then, like, you can just tell, though, like, we had the team. We had the players. We had the culture. Everyone loved each other in that room. It was just like, how can we click away from the rink to click to make it work on the rink? And I'm a firm believer in that. If you have success away from the rink, everyone's going to have confidence in that locker room before they put their skates on. They're going to have, okay, I have your back, I have your back.
100%.
It just, there's a belief, right? And that's what we had. We just had this belief system, and I'll never forget it. We lose Game 6 at home, Stanley Cup Finals. We get pumped. We sit down. It's me, Bozak, O'Reilly, Steen, and a card table. Steiner sits down. He's like, I told you boys we're going to win on the road. Because Steiner said that all year. He's like, if we win, we're going to win on the road. And
Belief.
Just the belief. Yeah. And that confidence is just like, to have that.
Yeah.
I mean, we just had so much swagger. And we weren't the best team. We weren't the flashiest team. But we just fucking worked. And we wore down the other teams as much as possible, and we did a good job of it.
It's funny you bring up that moment where you guys like come together, because it carried over for you guys in 2019. I was fortunate enough to be in Stockholm, Sweden for the Global Series, right? And I want to tell my Pat Maroon story real quick. So if you recall, there was the night before Game 1 where Hetty invited everybody to go to the sports bar that was in Stockholm, downtown Stockholm, which his buddy was the owner. And they closed the bar down for everybody, right? Just for the players. And so Breesman and Wicket invite myself, Steven, our mascot, Thunderbug, like, he invited us to come have a drink. And so we go to the sports bar, and I remember walking in, and it was just boisterous. Like, at the time, we didn't know that it was closed down just for you guys. So it's a normal, crazy, loud bar, and things are going on. And finally, I realized, I'm like, there's nobody in here except for the boys, the Lightning guys. And so I remember going to Wicket and saying, this is awesome. The guys are just hanging out, being boys, just being around each other, just enjoying each other. This is awesome. They do this all the time. And he's like, no, they never get to do this. Because, again, you guys are so segmented with every single day with practice and doing what you do. So to be able to just let loose and hang out with the boys, it was a bonding moment. And I was there. I witnessed you guys bonding. And then I'll never forget, as we were getting ready to leave, Liz Koharski, who was, assistant to the GM, everybody was a little litty at that point. And so the soccer team that Hetty has a relationship with had won a championship, and there was a celebration like at a club, and she's like, oh, I know where we're going. And she hopped on a scooter. Do you remember this? And she gets on a scooter and almost literally hits the curb and goes flying. And you're dying laughing because she just takes off on her scooter. And you're like, what is she doing? I remember looking at you dying laughing. And I'm like, it was just such a good vibe. Yeah. And that culminated into you guys at 2019 leading into 2020 to win the first Stanley Cup. And I remember hearing multiple guys talk about that bonding moment, and that where you guys all came together in Stockholm, and that was kind of the catalyst that kind of propelled you guys to back-to-back Stanley Cup champions.
Yeah, it was so important they put it on the ring, the Stanley Cup ring.
Yeah, on the ring.
Stockholm.
It was. And like I said, to be there, to witness it, and to see you guys, like you said, coming together, being a team, like having each other's backs and just letting loose and being boys, that was the catalyst. Like you said, it was so important that it was on the ring. You were there.
Yeah,
I mean, that to me was a crowning, defining moment. But it's crazy you say that, because those are the moments that you remember that got you to the next level.
We got Stockholm 5 days early.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah, I mean, we did it, right? I mean, it was a
boys
long
did some
trip,
bonding.
but
It was great.
We did it right for sure. I think, man, what a trip for all of us. I think I think that was a defining moment of like who we were. And I think people forget too, like when we come home, like, you know, you have your single guys or the young guys, and then you have the married guys. So like, it's hard to get away when you're at home, but we try as much as possible to hang out, you know, when we're at home. But, you know, on the road is our time to like really come together as a group and bond. And I thought that was just a special moment for us because, you know, it was a team that went through the hardships of, you know, 2019 and getting swept. And, you know, we can go back to, you can touch on it too a little bit, is just, do we have an identity? What kind of team are we? Or, you know, how do we figure this out? You know, like, stop bringing up Columbus. We were sick of hearing about it. Like, I think it was just that moment there. I think that was a time where we kind of just like came together as a group. And, you know, I'll never forget, like, I mean, there were so many random nights in Stockholm that we went on a mission that we just had to blast. And can we tell the story when we saw the country guy?
Yeah, I think you can. Yeah.
please tell it. Please tell it.
And you know what? I've actually seen him since.
You went and saw him.
Yeah, I did. He came to town. He came to Tampa.
Who is the country guy?
We were at this restaurant.
Yeah,
this weird. It was a nice restaurant.
What was it called? Rouge?
Maybe something like that.
Okay.
It was fancy.
Okay.
Really
It was fancy.
Very fancy.
Downtown
Like,
Stockholm?
we're talking like the waiters are wearing like tuxedos.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like,
Okay.
But yeah, we finish up the meal.
And they're like, you guys should go upstairs.
Well, no, before that, we're all sitting there, and you know, Stockholm. There's just, you know,
Beautiful city,
beautiful
yeah.
and beautiful people.
Yes,
you know,
for sure.
We're sitting there, and we see this one guy walk by, and he's obese, like
Okay.
he is huge,
Right.
And he's decked out,
Yeah.
you know, nice clothes, like country clothes. And we're like, I think we were like, I remember, I don't know if it was who it was, but we were like, I think that's the first like really fat person we've seen in Sweden.
Because they're all in shape.
So we just kind of like whatever, left it at that. But then after the meal, the waiter's like, hey, just so you guys know, we have some entertainment upstairs if you guys want to go check it out. So then, you know, we go upstairs, and lo and behold, there's this Joshua Ray Walker, country singer from Texas.
In Stockholm?
And he's doing this Scandinavian tour, and we went up there, and oh my God, it was.
I mean, he had the place pins and needles.
Wow.
Can sing.
He could
Absolutely sing.
Interesting.
And like
We
we
didn't know a single song that he was singing,
Right.
But he
just drew the attention to the. I mean,
I think Patty wore like a Joshua Ray Walker T-shirt. He bought a T-shirt.
I bought
here and there.
T-shirts. I bought everything. So we go back, and I don't know if Breezer's gonna like me for this, but we're kind of tuned up.
Yeah.
And do you remember this?
I do now.
We go back and we see Breezer. Who else was it? Breezer and someone else, and I got videos of to witness it. We start wrestling because we have now we can talk about it, right?
Yeah.
But we had our own floor, so like everyone was on. The players were all on one floor. So like when you walked out to, you stayed there.
Yeah.
When you walk out, there was just like a big area with like couches like this.
Yes.
The ring.
The ring.
The ring, as you guys remember.
And we had this bright idea to start wrestling. And then we started wrestling Breezer, then Stammer, then we all started doing dog piles. But I think moments like that,
Grown men.
grown men
acting
just
like
fighting.
kids, right.
Like, but I think those, like we touched on, like those are the moments where like you see, and then you wake up the next morning and you go to the rink and you're just giggling because those are the moments, finding moments of like, now we have a group, right? Mm-hmm. Now we have something special. Now we have, you know, a group that, you know, everyone cares about, and everyone wants to be with each other. You know, there's not a bad soldier in your locker room, you know, and I think, you know, those are the people that you want to go to work with every single day.
You practice harder, you play harder. It's just kind of like a cascading effect, right?
And it's just, it's just a snowball effect. It just keeps going and going. And those are the moments right there that mean a lot to us because now we can talk about it and tell stories about it because, those are the people you want to work with every day that you cared about.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a human that just put skates on. It was a human being that you cared and had fun with.
Sure.
It's tough to go to the training room and say, "Hey, Molly, I got a sore hip." He's like, "What's the matter?" "I got carpet burn on my hip here."
What were you guys doing last night? Right.
I mean, we bought we bought CDs. We bought. I'll send you so you can post on your pod of the photo I have of me in the hoodie. And you bought a cassette too, didn't you?
I bought a vinyl record.
A vinyl record, yeah. That's what
I don't have a vinyl player.
Yeah, that's what we bought. Vinyl, yeah. And
Shaddy bought like the whole album. Like he bought everything this guy had.
Wow.
Shaddy was just like Shaddy was like. This guy was a big man. Like
huge, like 450 pounds.
And Shaddy was obsessed with like, how did you get to Sweden?
Yeah.
And the guy's like, I sat in the middle seat in economy. And Shaddy was like, there's no way they could let you do that. And the guy's
wow.
Like,
but that brings me back to my point is I get a text from him like what, 2 years, 3 years later, 2 years later, he's at his concert.
Full circle
He's like,
moment.
can you believe where I'm at? And he sent the picture. I'm like, there's no fucking way.
Where was that show at?
it was up in Seminole Heights. He was here.
So
in
he was
Tampa.
here.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Of all places, man.
So
That's
those
remarkable,
those
right?
are the moments though, like, like you think about like receiving a text
Right.
and how the impact that night had on someone or on myself or Colbs or Stammer, whoever is with that night, and Shaddy, and those are the nights that like you talk about because like those are the impact nights that brought us together and brought us closer, and now we can sit here and talk about it because it really means a lot to us that happened.
And I mean, again, we've had Brian Boucher, we had him on last week. His episode dropped today, and we talked about.
Was Bush with you in Philly?
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah,
There's another 6 degrees of
I know,
separation from
right?
Braydon
I was going to
Coburn.
say that.
But we talked about the bubble, right? And how difficult, that was just for players in general. He actually said he loved being in the bubble because of how hyper-focused he was on just the game of hockey and enjoying and loving the game. But for you, being such a family guy, right, and having so many kids, how difficult was it for you to be in the bubble at that time?
I mean, it was difficult, but I think, you have to put shit aside.
Yeah.
And I think when you go through the process of like, okay, our one goal is to win the Stanley Cup, and
Correct.
that's our ultimate goal. We talk about like getting to the NHL, and then the pinnacle of your career is having a longevity and being there for a long time. But the next is hitting the mountaintop, right? Mm-hmm. You want to leave this game winning, right? Mm-hmm. You go through the pains, and you go through the ups and downs, and you go through the emotions of everything you went through in your career. And I think when you hit the mountaintop and you hit there and you get there, so I think when you get to the bubble, I think our one goal was to win. Obviously we wanted our families to be there and we wanted everyone to be there, but our one goal is to win. And we had to put that aside. Obviously we missed them truly. We missed them a ton. We wish they were a part of it. Mm-hmm. But I think at the end of the day, when you're getting off that plane and you see your kids for the first time and you see your wife, it just means way more because you accomplished something, right? So I think, when we got to the bubble, our one goal is to walk away with the Stanley Cup. And, it's like any work business, right? If you want to get to where you want to go, sometimes you have to put shit aside.
Yeah.
And in that moment, we had to put our families aside and get to work. But
Mission accomplished.
Bush was probably right. You're laser focused. You have no one around, no one bothering you.
Yep.
It's just the guys. You're bonding. You're hanging out, and you're going to practice. You're going back to the hotel. You're hanging out. You're doing dinners. You're with each other 24/7, right? So, but I think then goal when we walked off that plane and seeing everyone, I think that was the moment where it's like everything was worth it.
Amen. So I remember when we were having the Stanley Cup celebration at Julian B. Lane Park before the monsoon and hurricane blew in and destroyed that whole celebration. But we partied anyways. Yanni Gord on the dolly across the stage. It was an epic moment.
That was the second one.
That was the second one. So, but isn't that the one where the cup got dented? I remember somebody
that
tried.
Was me.
That was you. Okay. So can we find out exactly now, years later, what happened with the dented Stanley Cup? If it was you, what happened, Pat?
Okay, hold on, wait. Before we tell the story, our first cup that no one knows about, this maniac.
Oh,
okay.
Breaking news. Here we go.
So this maniac. So the cup.
I'm extremely embarrassed about this.
Okay, well, I love this.
So the cup's not supposed to be in the water. We're at Tyler Johnson's house, and obviously we all know we're drunk.
Yep.
The cup's just sitting on the table. He has a bright idea to lift it and go jump in the water. The cup keepers, that can't be in the water. What are we doing?
Salt water, the
chlorine. And everyone's like, holy shit, what's going on?
Oh, my God.
But
it was...
Like you just jumped in like with it above your head.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean,
but we brought it in the water.
Yeah.
I mean, awful idea.
It was a great idea. I loved it.
I wasn't even thinking. I was just like, all of a sudden, I was like, I was like 4 years old again, getting scolded for something, and I was like, and I knew it was like as soon as I did, I was like, oh my God, that's just so wrong. Yeah. But we were having a ping pong tournament.
No, we were playing that beer game. This is like where you no, not. It's where you stack cup.
Oh,
where
like
you put the ball, and then if you make it the first try, you can pass it anywhere.
By the way, this guy's got more drinking games than any human on. If he could write, like I think Patty Maroon, you could do a coffee table book of all his great accomplishments and life stories and everything, but he could also have a coffee book of like the best drinking games ever. Just an idea, just so you know. Maybe I'd love to do a forward for that book, but
that was
So we had won the game, by the way.
Obviously.
So that I was excited, and that's why I was like, going nuts.
But think about him.
Yes.
He's played over 1,000 games. He's been in the Stanley Cup Finals. He's got his heart broken, and he's been through it. He's been through the pains. He's done everything he can to get there, and that moment, like he said, he was like a 4-year-old kid, but to see him do that was like emotional a little bit, because you see a guy that's put his body on the line every single day. Mm-hmm. He takes care of himself. He works his ass off in the summer, and to see him do that is like, he probably felt the same way. It's just like, wow, this is fucking awesome. And like, at the time, you don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? You're a kid again. Mm-hmm.
Brings you right back. And I think for us seeing that, we've got such a good kick out of that, because it was awesome to see a guy that's been there, and we've seen what his work ethic is, and we see what he does every day. How he takes care of himself. How he goes home to his family and his wife, and like, the shit he puts in, the time and effort he puts in, coming to work every single day. And
I jumped home after that, by the way, just to get the extra workout, try to burn some of the booze off.
But I think that those are the moments right there, just like why we play the game.
Absolutely.
Because,
nothing's planned. It's just spontaneous. And it's just like you're with the guys. And
I think that's just awesome to see. Yeah. But mine's a different story. I was just 2 sheets to the wind, and it was pouring rain. Yeah. And Phil, the cup keeper, was like, the cup's just sitting here. And I was like, all right, I'll take it. And I went to go lift it. And I went.
You fell?
I could thank God Ryan McDonough was there. And Phil, the cup keeper, caught me. But I was so heavy and top heavy that the cup went down that way.
Oh, gosh.
So they saved the cup, but I dented
the top part, right?
The top part. But I've never seen a cup get transported faster than I've ever seen anyone get transported ever in my. I thought it was like a newborn baby.
It was like,
it
was gone.
It was gone. And then the next day it was back.
That's
it was wild.
Yeah. That's a whole process in itself.
They take it apart. They clean it. They get like. Yeah. I know it was. I heard about it.
They flew him back.
We all heard about it.
They flew him back private, I think, and then they got it fixed, and then they were back the next day.
It's amazing.
So I don't know if it's the same top, though. I think they needed to get a new top. But I haven't got confirmation yet because when I had my day with the cup, I was like, is this...
They do a great job of cleaning it. Like,
oh, yeah, they do a great job.
Restoring that thing,
absolutely,
man.
absolutely.
But my apologies. All the guys were so mad at me because we were supposed to go out with it that night. But
maybe when you had your day with the cup, they're like, we'll send the backup cup to the Maroon party. We're not sending the real thing.
They were so pissed at me, and I'm like, so we go to American Social that night, no cup.
Oh, well, now you guys know the real deal, what really happened to the Stanley Cup. I do want to go back before we kind of wrap things up. I think that's pretty cool that you talk about your kids, your son Anthony, getting into the groove now. Didn't he just get drafted by the London Knights?
Yeah, he did.
Isn't that kind of like a full circle moment for you?
Yeah, it is for sure. And I'm really proud of him as a father and what he's doing right now. And
he didn't love the game from a young age, right? Like it's been the last few years that he's really kind of picked that up.
I think the last 3 years he kind of started like loving the game and being a part of it and understanding. And that's, I don't know how you feel about this, but like, he's just a naturally good athlete, and like it's frustrating,
Right.
Like I can't pick up a basketball and play basketball. Like I'm terrible, but he was a really good athlete, like really good basketball player, really good soccer player. All he had to do was pick his poison.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And he was just playing to play. And
I think as a parent, you're just hoping that your kid, achieves their potential, right?
Right.
Whatever that is.
Sure.
Maybe that is the highest level. Maybe that's not. But you're just like, I want you to get everything that you have out of it.
Yeah. And I think I never pushed him. I always I learned from my dad.
Yeah.
I just stay in the back.
Yeah.
And let yourself figure it out a little bit. And I always did that. And then, he called one day, he's like, Dad, because he was playing basketball, seriously basketball at the time, and he loved it, and he was really good at it. And I was like, hey, basketball's running in between hockey. He called me. He's like, what do I do? I'm like, Anthony, you do what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you do, I'm going to be happy because I get to watch you play no matter what happens. And he's like, I want to play hockey. And I think he started playing every day, and then he started playing AAA, and I think he realized he started getting good. He was just an average at best player, and then, like I said, he was just a natural athlete. So like things started coming naturally to him, and like his hands are coming. Then he thinks the game really well. He's a good hockey sense, he's a good hockey mind, and so everything just started flowing easily to him. And I think that's what kind of realized him that like, okay, maybe I have something here.
Mm-hmm.
And he just stuck with it, and really proud of him of all he's accomplished right now. And I'm really looking forward to watching him play. So this is a big summer for him. If, he's going to try to go play in London this year and go try to play in the OHL. And now with everything going on with the new change and the NIL and, you can play in the OHL after, and then you can go to college now. So I'm really looking forward to him, but he's really, really, really tremendously has worked hard at this game. And I'm just really proud of him. And I just sit in the back and, laugh and cry and get emotional sometimes. But I'm just really proud of who he is as a person, most importantly.
Fantastic.
So
Love
I
to
think
hear
that's awesome.
Well, before we wrap it up with our segment called the Hattrick, I know Panger on the broadcast the other night said that he hopes that you delve into the broadcasting world. Obviously, Kobe now is dabbling into the broadcasting world. Is that potentially maybe in the cards for you, whether that's on a local level here with the Lightning or a TNT or an ESPN? Is that even maybe on the radar? Because I think your personality, I think people love it, and I think people want to see more of Patty Maroons. Is that something on the cards for you?
It is. I don't know if I can say it.
Oh. I mean, I don't want to breaking news or anything, but
no,
I mean,
it's not. It's I'm hoping I can't say it, but
Okay.
yeah, second round, third round, fourth round,
Okay.
and then
You're heading down that path.
yeah, and then
Good.
I can say NHL Network. I'm doing the finals. I'm covering the finals.
Congrats.
But the big network that Panger's talking about,
I figured as much. Penger doesn't know me. We've had him on the show as well. He doesn't normally like throw stuff out there unless Penger's pretty confident in like what he's trying to put out there. So, well, congrats, man. It's going to be awesome to see you. You were actually with me in Sunrise for the All-Star. You were down with PK, and I told you, I'm like, oh, you're coming for my job now? And here you are, man. He's doing broadcasting.
I don't know. That job's hard. Asking questions hard, but
it's a little bit. All right. Speaking of asking questions. We do a segment, Patty, called the hattrick. These are literally 100 AI-generated questions, and we need you to give us 3 numbers, 1 through 100, that have some sort of meaning to you. And we'll just rip off these AI questions because Kobe and I have no idea what they are. So 1 through 100, give us 3 numbers that have importance to you.
714, 770.
714, 77. Here we go. Question number 7. What motivated you after a tough loss?
Oh, I think just talking to the guys and seeing their emotions and, talking through with them and then going home and laying in bed and thinking about those conversations you had with them, right? That's what motivated me. I think when you go through a tough loss, that's the beauty of hockey. You have a chance to come back and do it again the next night, right? Yeah. And for us, we talked amongst each other, and you have those hard conversations and those deep conversations that you probably don't want to talk about or want to hear, and that's what motivated me the most.
Great answer.
You had, over the course of your career, you had the unique, I think it's unique, ability to play with some of our generation's most talented players, and maybe the next generation's most talented players. Kucherov, Bedard, McDavid, Getzlaf in his prime, Corey Perry in his prime. I'm forgetting Braydon Point.
Yeah.
There's all these guys. Who is the greatest teammate player that you have ever played with that you're like just blew you out of the water?
Like, you're talking like the best teammate?
Well, let's do that. Let's say best teammate, best player. That's 2 categories. I'm going to steal 2 questions from the highlight guys here.
Oh, man, you're putting me on the spot.
That's what we do.
Well, I'm going to have a 2-part question. I'm going to have a 2-part answer.
Okay, fair.
Getzlaf and Perry, because they helped me out a lot. And they're still my best friends to this day. And talk to them all the time. So that being said, opportunity to play with those guys and at the prime of their career and see how they operate, and they already won a cup, and just tremendous guys. And they didn't care if you were 24 or 20 years old, they'd bring you in. And those guys right there are my true best friends, I guess.
Yeah.
Best teammate, I don't know, Braydon Point. I mean, how can you not love the guy? And just operates different than all of us.
Yeah, no.
Facts. And
facts.
The way he can turn it on at the right times, you might see Braydon Point walk in with his suit wrinkled that was probably in his car for 10 days.
He might have woke up 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. So but when he puts his skates on, he's a different animal, and love that guy to death. Ryan McDonough is probably my best friend in hockey. But best player, man, Cooch doesn't get enough credit for all the work he puts in and all the time and effort he puts into his craft and how he does things and how he operates on a daily basis. And I just really, it's hard to say, because McDavid's McDavid, Draisaitl's Draisaitl, McKinnon's McKinnon, but I don't think Cooch gets enough credit. He should be in that category. Look, I mean, He's won the Hart
back to
back, like
multiple times.
Like, he's our generational player right now. Like, he's the guy that we should all be. Like, if I can buy a ticket and I'm in the stands, I would go watch Cooch, McDavid, McKinnon, Draisaitl right now.
Why did you choose to come back in the summer and work with Cooch?
I just think that what he does, I think his mindset of hockey and how he thinks the game and how he's so creative and how he puts himself in game-like situations every single night. And he does that in the summer. He puts himself in game-like situations every single time. And I think just watching him do it every day, it's truly amazing. 2 hours a day on the ice, and the way he puts the time and effort in. And why I love Cooch and is because he took time and effort to work with Anthony. He didn't have to do that. And the beauty of this is he pulls Anthony aside and works with him. It's not like, hey, quick hitter. It's like he pulls him aside and does it. And I think he sees the most out of people. He sees you can get better every single day. Like, hey, come work with me.
Mm-hmm.
Don't miss time. Come do it because I know you're going to improve. And I think that's what Cooch is so good about. Like, obviously, we know Cooch in the media, but that's not Cooch as the person he is. Like, Cooch is a great human being. Like, if you get to know that guy, he's the best. And I feel like when you watch him do, I wish there was a video camera watching him skate in the summer with what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And it's truly amazing to watch and witness. And that's why I always go back to Cooch, because he takes the time and effort to take care of my kid and pull him aside and work with him and let him come out there and skate. But the shit he does, I don't think his hockey IQ is off the charts. So it's really been fun to watch, and I can see why he's having all the success. You know, obviously I love McDavid. I had my best years with McDavid, and I played with him, and I had a career year with McDavid. They're the same, but I think I didn't have the chance to work with McDavid, right? I got to see what he did every single day.
Sure.
As a teammate and the work ethic he puts in, but I didn't see him doing it in the summer. Right. So it's hard to say okay, I love McDavid or I love Draisaitl, because I love them both to death. They're like great friends of mine, but watching Cooch and putting his effort into me coming out and knowing that, hey, you can get better by working with me, just put in the time and effort. So that's why I love Cooch so much, because he cared about the person, the human, to get better instead of just going out there.
Remarkable stuff, man. This is I think we're an hour in on this conversation. It's been fantastic. It's just been unbelievable. I think we're blessed and beyond happy to know that you're going to have some time here in the Tampa Bay area in retirement, and hopefully we're going to see you around Amalie a lot more now that you got a little bit more free time with you. And on behalf of myself,
golf game's about to get much better too, right?
And my weight's going to get bigger.
Just don't get country singer size, all right? That's all we ask. Anyways, Big Rig, thank you so much for being here on the Block Party.
Look out, highlight. Send the case to the Big Rig.
Yeah, please. But thank you to our friends at Highlight IPA for powering another episode of the Bolts Block Party, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.